planned multiple domestic and international trips all by myself for years. So in this video, I'm sharing with you how to plan your trip to anywhere. You'll know exactly how to plan your trip no matter the destination, how to plan your budget so you'll have a debt-free vacation, how to research your destination, organize your itinerary, and save money. Hi everyone, I'm Antoinette and welcome back to my channel. At Frolic and Courage, I like to make videos on travel, food, and life. This is part of my travel planning series. The first video is why travel planning is important. The second video is 5 critical questions to ask yourself before you start planning a vacation. Watch those videos first and then return back to this one. Once you've answered those 5 critical questions, now it's time to actually start planning. The key to how to plan your trip to anywhere is to start as soon as you know you want to go. A lot of people ask, when should I start planning for my vacation? When should I start planning for my trip? And honestly, the earlier, the better. Y'all know I like to plan 6 to 8 months up into a year in advance. The first travel planning phase for me is to just research and document. Notice how I didn't start planning with my budget, because honestly, if you're like me, sometimes you don't know and you have no idea of what it's gonna cost you. And so you need facts, which is why research comes in handy. Research will help you discover the best things to do and see, locate great restaurants, show you neighborhoods and places to stay and accommodations in your budget, and help you to navigate how to get around. There are many ways to research a trip, but I've found that the search engine is going to be your best friend throughout this whole process. Search engines have the most up-to-date information, which is why I like to start with a simple search. You will run into a lot of great websites with a lot of great information, like from tourism boards. So if you're going to a particular destination, chances are that city, that country, that state has an official tourism board with a wealth of information. You can also search on YouTube, and since you're on YouTube now, I know you guys are familiar. You get to see visually, you get to know facts, and so I typically start with a good YouTube search. I'm looking for things like how to get around on a budget at a destination or things to do at a particular destination. I want to know what it looks like from people who have actually been there. You'll see all of this on my channel, and there are a number of different channels that are great for trip research too, like Kara and Nate, Walter's World, and so much more. As you're conducting research, look at travel books. Y'all, people still use books, whether it's digital or in print. The Frommer's Guides, the Lonely Planet Guides, Fodor's, and Rick Steves is like the boss of any type of European vacation. You can also talk to a travel advisor, but my guess is since you're looking to plan a trip on your own, it may not be for you, but travel advisors are experts in their field. You can also do research through memberships. Like if you have a AAA membership, they put together whole maps and triptychs, and they have guides for what to do, what to see, where to eat, accommodation lists based on your budget or certain levels of comfort. If you have a membership at Costco, there's a whole travel section in Costco. And did you also know National Geographic Maps has a wealth of information? They have cartographers that are mapping out destinations across the world. There are many guides that you can look at and check out for information. In addition to websites and books and maps, there are also podcasts. When I was planning for my trip to Madrid, I checked out Rick Steves' podcast where he interviewed local experts in Madrid, and they gave the best sights and sounds and the feel of the city before I went. It kind of got me hyped up, like ready to go. But there are many travel podcasts and podcasts on specific destinations. And who can forget about social media? Y'all, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, Facebook, they can sell a destination, right? I have found many a great restaurant just using Instagram and looking at the pictures and thinking, ooh, I want to try this. I'm going to add this to my list. There are great message boards like TripAdvisor or Reddit, any type of travel community, whether it's a Facebook page, on someone's YouTube comments. You can actually call up a hotel concierge in the area, and one of my favorite things to do is actually talk to people. Y'all, once I started talking to people, folks that I had no idea traveled, all of a sudden were giving me the best places to eat, things to do, like how to navigate the streets. For example, when I was going on my bucket list trip to Paris, I mentioned to some coworkers, hey, I'm going to Paris for the first time, I'm really excited, and come to find out, the guy 2 cubicles down from me is half French and went to Paris every single year. He knew the language fluently and had so many great recommendations. And even further down the hall, there was a guy who actually was born and raised in Paris. I was able to get an insider's view of what it actually is like there and some really helpful tips. And if you don't have anyone to talk to, that's why those message boards online come in handy. As you're researching, you're going to find a wealth of information, and you definitely want to check out the United States Department of State website. It contains vital country information and answers questions like, do you need a visa to visit this destination? How long can you stay in a tourist visa? Is it safe to travel? And do you need an immunization? What's the latest political climate going on in that country or that destination? It's so very helpful. And speaking of government websites, y'all, the CIA World Factbook will tell you every detail you need to know about a country. Y'all know the CIA has facts, but they publish some of these facts online. The CIA World Factbook has basic intelligence on the history, people, government, economy, and so much more. All you have to do is type in a country name here, hit enter, and look at all the information that you can get. Not only a background of the history of the country, but the geography, people and society, environment, government, economy, energy, communications, transportation, military and security, and any type of transnational issues. It is absolutely a wealth of information. You can get things like, you can get information about the population, the nationality, ethnic groups, the languages that are spoken, any types of religions or a demographic profile. I mean, this has just so much information here, so you don't want to sleep on the CIA World Factbook when you are conducting your research. And since you're not sleeping on that CIA World Factbook, you also don't need to sleep on newspapers. Newspapers like the travel section or the local news translated to English, you can Google that, have a wealth of information about what to do, great perspectives and unique accommodations, unique things to do and activities, and just personal stories to get you excited about your trip. There are also magazines that you can use to conduct research, like Travel and Leisure, Condé Nast, Afar, or RV Magazine. There's a specialty magazine for just about anything out there. And also, there's the weather. As you're researching, you don't want to forget about the weather. You can search the weather of any destination you're going to. For instance, if I'm going to Buenos Aires, Argentina, I can go to weather.com, like literally weather.com, and search to see what the weather is in Buenos Aires. I can also click on the monthly tab to see what the weather is going to be like for my anticipated dates, and get a really good sense of what the weather was in the past, as well as what the weather could be, the predictions for the future around a particular month of the year. Knowing the weather is really important because it helps you to know what to wear and what types of extra things you may or may not need to bring on your trip. Lastly, as you're researching, don't forget to sign up for email newsletters, whether it's an accommodation or an activity, clothing, whatever you need for this trip, because there could be discounts and specials that are only available via email newsletter or on social media. So use these and more to help you. The earlier you start the research process, the more comfortable and the more prepared you'll start to feel. And this list is not exhaustive, but by all means, what are your favorite places to research a trip? Put it in the comments down below and share your favorite tools and resources. What do you do with all this information? You document what you find. Since we're talking about how to plan your trip to anywhere, it is critical that you organize your research in one location so that you can access the information and update it as you continue to learn new things. People are dynamic, travel is an ever-evolving industry, so consider yourself lifelong learners. In terms of how to document your research, I mean, you can use whatever works for you. You do want to kick it old school and do paper and pen? Do you want to use a journal, a tablet, your phone? There are many different apps that you can download. You can just star things in your email. However, whatever works best for you. I personally like to organize and plan my trips using Excel spreadsheets. Y'all know I love a good spreadsheet because it's easy to update. and it can be uploaded to the cloud or downloaded to my phone or tablet. It can be automatically updated and sorted by numbers, dates, locations, and more. I'm gonna actually give you a behind the scenes look at my personal travel planning spreadsheet. Again, I just wanna make it clear, you do not have to do what I do. But if you want to save yourself the time and hassle of creating your own planning documents from scratch, I'll just put a link in the description box, and if you want to download my spreadsheet, feel free. I'll also include a special 10% off coupon code just because I like you and I want to say thank you for watching. So without further ado, let's walk through what you need to look for while conducting and documenting your trip research. So this is my vacation planner template that I use for every single trip that I plan, and I've been using this for quite some time now. I found it works well for me. There are tabs that include everything I need to consider, from my budget to the itinerary to accommodations, transportation, food and drink, restaurant ideas, activities, and I can customize absolutely everything, and that's why I love it. This yellow customize button, I'm able to customize how many destinations I'm going to. So if you're looking to how to plan a trip to multiple destinations, you definitely want to have a system to keep track of all the information you find for each destination. I can customize my recipient for gifts, the types of meals I want, the types of accommodations I want to stay in, the status in the process, my credit card information. I can rank the different things that I find. I can select the different types of transportation and just either add my own by just typing it into the bottom, or I can just delete the ones I don't need from this list. And my trip type, round trip, one-way transfer. Again, I can add or delete anything here by just replacing the information. Just as simple as that. I start documenting the important information first, like what days am I going on this trip? How many days and how many nights? How many people are going with me? What are the names of my travelers if anyone's coming with me? What locations am I going to visit? And once I finish that, then I get into some personal information, which is why this is the important information section. If anything gets lost or stolen in my trip, I have a digital copy that I can go back and reference should I need it. I have things like all of my passport information and details listed in this section. You can also just take a picture and leave it on your phone, but if your phone gets stolen, at least if it's uploaded to the cloud, you can go to any library or internet source to go find your documents. There's also location information, like what are the general dates are you visiting this location? What's the language, the currency, the exchange rate? Do you need an adapter or a converter, or are there any local laws or customs that you found out that might be different from your home laws and customs that you want to remember for this trip? This is where the US Department of State will come in handy with filling out this section. What is the nearest hospital, and how far is it from your accommodations? What do you do in case there's an emergency? You'll find all this through your research. And if you're going international, where is your country's embassy? This is really important to know, because if something goes down and in case of emergency, your local embassy will have the most up-to-date information on how to get you to a safe location. In addition to location information, there's also your credit, debit, and reward card information. What is the name on the card, the expiration date? If it's lost or stolen, you need a way to contact your credit card issuer. And I'm pulling out my credit card right now. Y'all just check out at the back of your credit cards. Take a peek at this, because there is a number. Do you guys see it? Do you see the number right there? You can actually call this number internationally if it's lost or stolen. Write that number down in case your phone goes missing. And there's a section to include whatever you would like. So things like your traveler's insurance policies, trip insurance, cancellation insurance, any helpful notes that'll help you as you're going through the research process. And the more research you do, the more you'll find information about pricing, which can help inform your budget, which is why the next tab, the spending plan, is one of my favorites. I like to keep track of how much I've saved for a trip, what my goal is, how much I've actually spent, and how much I have left to spend. And I've broken this up into 6 different categories. If you saw my how much does a trip to Paris video cost, you'll see a lot of this information too. Pre-trip administrative costs are costs that happen before you go on your trip. Consider things like kids supplies, clothing, extra cash. Do you need an international driver's permit if you're going out of the country? the cost of any maps or guidebooks or apps, medical supplies or medications, money exchange fees, as well as phone expenses like your travel plans should you need any type of a travel plan, toiletries and first aid, travel insurance, vaccinations and immunizations, weather supplies, or anything miscellaneous. You can type whatever you like here to get a good idea of how much it will actually cost you. Just type in your estimated expenses here and it automatically calculates what your goal plan is. This column, D, for your goal are all of your planned expenses. So here is where you're gonna type out the maximum that you want to pay for this particular item for your entire trip. I can look at a glance at all of these categories. If I click this number 1 here in the corner, or if I click number 2, I can expand everything. So I can get a good look at how much every little detail is going to cost me. Or I can just click this little plus button here besides a particular section. And the minus section will roll it back up. When you're looking at how to plan a trip to anywhere, look at your transportation options. How are you gonna get there and how are you going to get around? And how much does that all cost me? You're looking at car rental agencies, you're looking at public transportation websites, you're looking at cruise ship sites if you're going on a cruise, plus those taxes and fees. How much is parking gonna be, or gas or petrol? Taxis and toll roads, include that in your budget. Next, you're gonna look at your accommodations. Here I have it broken down between nights because you can stay in multiple places, maybe 3 days here, 2 days here, however long your trip is. I like to include how much the total rates are for my trip for all the days. Plus, don't forget any taxes or fees, whether it's a room tax or a local tax, any tourism or resort fees, which are common in major cities like New York or Miami, and any additional charges like room service or a cleaning fee. Write down what you find here and the total automatically calculates for that accommodation. Type in the name and the room type here, and there you have it. You could do this for multiple nights, and if you need to just copy and paste the information, highlight those rows, click copy, click the blank space underneath, hit insert, and boom, you automatically have a copy, or you can continually update and make changes to this. Just make sure that if you make a copy, you hit the accommodation cell here, and notice how I've highlighted all of the cells. I hit the plus sign after the last entry, and I include the total of the last cell. So whatever I type can be included. When you're looking at your budget, you also want to look at things like your food and drink, how much that will cost for your breakfast, lunch, dinner, drink, snacks. And again, all this is customized with that customized tab. And your activities. What are you gonna do and how much is it gonna cost? Put those estimated expenses here, and then when you actually go to book your tickets, fill out that information in column C, the actual spent column. Finally, when you're looking at your budget, consider your souvenirs are gifts that you want to bring back and who your recipient is. Just click the drop down and you can choose whoever you'd like to be the recipient of your gift. Here's a sample spending plan already filled out with some estimated expenses here. It is such a lifesaver. So once you have a good idea of what your planned expenses are, and we're gonna go through a couple of worksheets to help you figure out what those planned expenses are later in this video, you wanna look at how much money you can put aside for this trip so you can have a debt-free vacation. This is important to me because I come back without any debt. All I have to do is just pay off the points because the money is already there in my account, saved and ready to go. And that's where this savings tab comes in handy. It has your goal, which is pre-populated based on your spending plan here in column D. You also have how much you've actually saved for this trip and how much you have left to save to meet your savings goal. All you have to do is put in the date and how much money you plan to save for that date. I usually like to plan these around my paycheck, so if I get paid every 2 weeks, all I will do is click the cell underneath, hit the equals button in the function bar, click this cell and add 14 days since I get paid every 2 weeks, which is 14 days. And from there, I can drag it out to every one of my paychecks. Let's just say I want to plan for $50 out of every check. Boom. I see that my planned savings here is $850, but I've saved nothing. So as I continue to receive my paychecks, I can set aside that $50. Maybe I can save $100 for this check, maybe $75 out of this check, and maybe $60 all the way down to the end. And as you can see, I have met or exceeded my savings goal. It lets me know when I've met it, and it gives me the difference, meaning I have an extra $315 that I've saved over, which is really nice. And when you go back to your spending plan, you'll see you're left to spend. I love spreadsheets. As you're looking at how to plan a trip to anywhere, consider what are your savings goals and what is your plan to get there. You don't have to use Excel, but you do have to document it and track your progress. And once I've reached my savings goal, I have a handy chart here so I can keep track of my spending summary. There's a quick little table here that shows me how I did compared to how I actually planned it. And this is important because over time, your plan is gonna look a lot like your actual expenses, as you'll get better at estimating those costs. So that's how I plan debt-free vacations, is to track my planned versus my actual expenses and set a savings goal and a tracker so I can reach my goal. So as you're planning out your trip to Japan or the United States or anywhere you're trying to go, research what you're gonna do at that destination. This is so much fun. I have a whole activities spreadsheet here where I list the date of the activity, the location, especially if it's a different country, and again, I can customize my countries here, the activity name, how much it will cost for everyone that I'm paying for at my party, what's the start time, the end time, the duration, and I can rank it on how interesting it is to me. The dates that it's available, because not every tour is available every single day. There are closing times and hours for certain activities. Note that in your research. And any important notes like individual costs. If I'm going to visit a historic cathedral, like what do I need to wear? The contact information for that activity, and of course, the website. Once everything is filled out, I can go to the data tab and filter anything by the actual date. I can filter things by the location and by the activity, the start time, the end time. Or what I really like to do is sort it based on the date as well as the start time. And that gives me a really good idea of what I'm doing when. I also like to include everything that I'm interested in this sheet, because if an activity gets canceled due to weather or due to some unforeseen circumstance, I have an entire list of things that I'm interested in doing. So while I'm out there traveling, I can just pull up my spreadsheet and say, oh, okay, so this is canceled, but I really want to do this. Here's all the information. Let's go book it and have a good time. In addition to activities, I also want to look at my accommodations. Where am I going to lay my head down at night? I need to sleep somewhere, whether it's at a family member's house or at a hotel or an Airbnb, any type of hostel, a cruise, whatever you want. You can customize these categories here. You can type in the company name and the room type, how many nights. Also research the total cost and what are your check-in dates and times, because those can vary. You also can rate it here based off your likes. Don't forget to check out the nearest public transportation if you're into taking public transportation, the distance from any type of airport or train station, the address, the website, and again, any important notes like, is breakfast included, or what about Wi-Fi? What are the gym hours? And will the rates increase on certain days or times of the year? As you're researching, document every type of place that you are interested in staying. Because if one falls through, you've got a plan B, a plan C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, all the way up. So you'll never be stuck without a place. And do the same thing with transportation. What type of transportation? How are you getting there and how are you getting around? Is it going to be a flight, a bike rental when you get there, a bus, a cruise ship? Are you parking and paying for gas? Write down the company name, the departure date, location, and time, as well as your arrival date, location, and time. Is it a round trip, or is it a one-way, or is it a transfer? How much does it cost, and what are some details about the website and any important notes, like how many carry-on bags do you get at a flight? Is it an economy seat, a business class seat? When does boarding begin? How early do you need to be there to take the transportation that is most suitable for your trip? Write all of that stuff down. One of my favorites are restaurant ideas. It is possible, y'all, to have a bad meal in Paris. That's a story time for a different day. I've had the worst meal of my life in Paris because I failed to plan and went to, okay, I won't get into the details. So now every trip, I'm researching restaurant ideas. I wanna know what the name of the restaurant is, the cuisine, which location is it if I'm going to multiple destinations? What's the price range? And this, y'all, can help inform your spending plan. What are the hours? Are RSVPs required? What's the address, the phone number, and the website if I need to contact them? And the important notes like the dress code or whether or not I book the table. And because it's Excel, you could do the same thing and filter out based on cuisine, based on the location you go to. As you're researching and documenting your trip, look at things like how much food and beverage will cost you for the entire trip. And that's why I've built my own personal little food and drink estimator, so I know how much money I plan to spend, or at least get a good idea after I've done my restaurant research of how much I plan to include in my spending plan. If I have any currency conversion rates, I put my home currency here and my destination currency here, and the conversion rate, which I can copy and paste for $1 of my home currency here by going to this XE currency converter website and copying and pasting. So if I were to go from US dollars to euro and convert it, now I can just take this conversion, copy it, go back to my spreadsheet here and paste that conversion rate. Essentially it's 98 cents to the dollar. I type in the number of adults that are going with me that I'm actually paying for. So it's usually my husband and I, so I'll type in 2 here. We don't have any kids, but you can type in the number of kids. And if I want to convert the currency, I can either do a yes or a no. For now, we'll keep it no. For step 2 in estimating how much it costs for food and drink on my trip, I will include the maximum that I would like to spend based off my research here for one person, one adult in this situation. For breakfast, I don't want to spend any more than say $15. For lunch, I don't want to spend any more than $20, and for dinner, I don't want to spend any more than $35 a person for one meal, no more than $5 for drinks, $5 for 2 snacks during the day. You do the same thing with children if you have any children with you. And then you count the number of meals for your entire trip. So if I know I'm gonna be gone for 4 days and arriving at noon on the first day and leaving at noon on the last day, I know that I will need, since I'm arriving at noon and leaving at noon, I know I will need 2 breakfasts. Since I'm arriving at noon and I'm gonna stay there for 4 days, I need 4 lunches. So I arrive at noon on the first day, I'll need dinner the second day, dinner on the third day, and I'll be gone before dinner on the 4th. So I just need dinner for 3 days. And I anticipate I'll need, so drinks I'll have with dinner, so that's 3. Snacks, I'll do maybe 2 snacks a day for each of the 4 days. And from there, I get a total for everybody in my traveling party. For these 2 adults, my breakfast should be no more than $60, lunch $160, dinner $210, etc., for a total of $540. And that's how I estimate my food and drink expenses. And if I want to convert that number to a different currency, all I do is go back up here, convert currency is yes, and then boom, I have how much this would cost me in euros. And these numbers can easily be replaced by just highlighting them, going to accounting, and you can change it to whatever currency you need it to be. Then I will take these numbers right here, I will copy them, go right on back to my spending plan, to the food and drink section, and I will paste them into my planned expenses. And boom, there I have it. That's how I estimate how much food and drink will cost for my trip. And while I'm also on my trip, I like to keep track of how much I'm spending towards that goal. So I'll enter the name of the restaurant here, as well as the total I spent at that location, the meal type, such as, let's say this is a lunch, and the date that I am going to eat here. The beauty of Excel, again, is that I can go right on back to my spending plan and look, it automatically calculated in my actual expenses as I keep track of everything. And that's another trick to how I keep on track to having a debt-free vacation. So I've got my activities, my restaurant ideas, I know how much I'm estimating for food and drink, I have my accommodations research, and I have all of my transportation together, you can go back to your spending plan and adjust those goal numbers, or enter the goal numbers if you haven't already. Now that you've done your research, you should have a strong idea of how much your dream trip costs. And because travel costs are rising, I want to know all of my options in terms of peak seasons, holidays, special events, you know, all those command top prices. So as I'm looking at my budget, I can also see that, maybe this is an expensive time to go. Maybe I should start looking at other dates and locations. So once I start adjusting my goals based off my research, the next phase of the planning process is to organize my itinerary. And I like to look at my itinerary in a couple different views. It just goes based on my mood. But the main view is in this list format where I can start plugging in the things that I've researched into what I'm gonna do on a day-to-day basis. I start off with the date, the location, and then the activity. What am I doing? Am I checking into the hotel? Am I getting on a plane? Am I departing from the hotel to some other activity or destination? What am I doing? And I list it step by step, starting with my departure time and my arrival time. I also make note of any confirmation numbers as I begin to book things. And there's a handy dandy booking status here from either complete, not started, in progress, on hold, or even canceled. And it's all color coded so I know what I have left. By clicking this filter button on everything that is completed. And it shows me everything that is completed, and I can clear the filters and continue on. I also include important things like the weather. Remember, you are looking at the weather as you are researching, and you're writing down, hey, what's the weather like for my dates? What outfits, if you want to plan out your outfits, and the address, phone number, and any important notes. You can print out any of these pages, a list format. I want to see everything, and I want to be able to sort it by the date, as well as sort it by the departure time, because it's super helpful to me. I can then look at it from a calendar at a glance view, and this is super helpful to me because I like calendar views as well. I can just type in the year here. Say I'm going on a trip in 2023, and the month that I'm going, let's just say it's May. And notice how the dates actually adjust based on my trip. And if the first day of the week I want it to be a Monday, then it will automatically update and switch the dates to a Monday. From here, I can just start typing in the time and the activity. And there I have it. If I want to duplicate this, if I'm going on a couple months long trip, all I have to do is right click and move or copy. I will create a copy, put it right under my calendar or right before my agenda, and all I have to do, as we can see, it made a copy, and I can change the month to a different month and continue on with the planning process. And if I don't need it, I can just right click and I can delete any one of these sheets at any point in time. What that ends up looking like in the end is you have an entire calendar with what you're going to do when based on the week. And if you're visual like myself, if you want to know hour by hour what you're doing, like me visually, you can click on the daily agenda and just type in the first day of your trip right here. So say I'm going May 1st, 2023, and then boom, the day of the week automatically populates for your first week, your second week, and on to your third, fourth, fifth, however long you're going to be. And from here, you can start color blocking by highlighting cells, clicking the fill button, the merge and center, and then type whatever you want here, and you can color code it based on your preferences. So in the end, you've got a perfectly color coordinated hour by hour schedule for your entire trip. The beauty of planning a trip in advance is that you have plan A's and plan B's already lined up. So as you work on filling your itinerary, you're gonna notice that, hey, that activity isn't available these dates, so what am I gonna do on this date and this time? And then that's when you can fill it in with a restaurant or a different activity or just plain free time. You're also gonna notice that as you start filling out your itinerary, there may be some things that you haven't booked yet, or maybe everything in your itinerary is gonna be in progress. That's why having a to-do list is really helpful when you're planning a trip. You can insert the task here, set the priority from low, normal, or high, and set the status to complete, not started, in progress, on hold, create a due date, and any notes so that you can keep track of and use the filter button to really filter out what your high priority items are so you can stay focused. Planning a trip takes time. There's no doubt about it. The earlier you start, the more leisurely you can go about planning without feeling stress. It's really a building block process where you get a little piece here, a little piece here. You can work on it for a week, take a break, come back to it the next day. Just give yourself enough time to plan without being stressed out. Another tip in planning your itinerary is to think to yourself, logically, what's gonna happen next? As you're visualizing your trip, you think, okay, what time am I leaving my house? Where am I going from there? Okay, I'm going to the airport. Great. How am I gonna get to the airport? Am I gonna drive or am I gonna take some type of ride sharing program? And if so, what is the cost? I'm going back to my transportation research. I need to add the cost of ride sharing from my place to the airport. Or if I'm driving, how much is airport parking gonna cost? And then when I get there to the airport, then what happens next? Okay, I board at a certain time. I'll write in my itinerary, the activity is the flight, departing at this time. Great, when am I arriving? Okay, so once I arrive, then what happens next? Okay, I need to get my bags, and then I need to get to my accommodations. How am I gonna get there? Okay, I have a couple of options for my transportation research. I can take a bus, a train, a taxi, call a friend, or call a family member. Okay, add that to the itinerary. All right, and when I get to my accommodations, then what happens next? Just keep asking yourself, and then what? And then what? And then what? And then what happens next? And that's how you build your trip itinerary. Once you build up your itinerary and have any potential scheduling conflicts resolved, the next phase of the planning process is you start booking things. You've done the research for how much things will cost and you have your planned expenses and your goals. You also have a savings plan so you know how much money you have in your account to actually book the things you need to. So start booking. You don't have to have 100% of the money before you start booking because ideally you will start to book things as you have the funding for it and in advance to get the best prices. As you start booking your accommodations, your transportation, your activities, you are logging in how much you're actually spending and you're comparing that to your goal so that you can stay on track. And you're also booking when you see a good deal, like the intersection of booking when you have the money and then you encounter an excellent deal is just is absolute magic. So as you're booking things, again, you may have to revisit your actual itinerary because there may be some things that are booked up or something's not available. That's why you go back to your research and planning to see what your next options are. Usually, if you're booking in advance, there's gonna be a lot of availability, so you may not even encounter that issue. But if you do, know that, hey, no sweat. I already have backups for things that are just as enjoyable. So you're checking off your to-do list, you're creating your itinerary, you're booking things left and right as you have the funding available for it. So as you're looking at how to plan a trip to anywhere and start travel planning like a boss, you gotta pack like a boss too. I have all different types of things that I like to pack, and I've included them in pretty much this entire spreadsheet. What to pack for clothes, for toiletries, carry-on item or your personal item if you're flying, your health, any pets if you're going with pets, your shoes, any kids item, electronics, accessories, food and snacks, documents, and anything miscellaneous, as well as business travel things if you're going on a business trip. I like to add important details, and here, since I have Excel, I can type 1 to check it off, or I can type 0 if I'm not bringing it, or I can just highlight certain areas and just straight delete it if I'm not going to bring it with me. I can put the quantity here, so if I really like cardigans, so I will bring 3 cardigans. I will bring my black, red, and navy cardigans, and when I'm on my trip I can mark whether or not I have returned it back to my suitcase so I don't leave anything behind. Having a packing list is a critical part of travel planning because you don't want to forget anything, and at the same time you still want to be comfortable. So this list really helps me stay on track, especially with like the toiletries, you know, my face soap, moisturizers. But also I like to pack light and pack tight, so I only want to bring those essentials that are necessary for my trip. I have reminders for myself like bring my charging cables or my earbuds, my hand sanitizer, keys. If I need any type of lotion, because I get so dry on airplanes, y'all, I need to have my lotion with me. Like my passport, a pen, because you never know when you have to fill out a customs form. Any tickets I need, my travel blanket or pillow, a water bottle. Whatever you need, put it in a packing list and set it aside for when you're getting ready to leave and when you're on your trip, when you're getting ready to come back. You can also print out your packing list, or if you've handwritten it, you already have it handy with you, throw it in your luggage and you can consult it on your way back home. We're talking about how to plan a trip to anywhere. And we've discussed things like important information, like who you're going with, the dates, and the nearest hospital or embassy information. We talked about planning and documenting your research when it comes to transportation, accommodations, food and beverage, activities, creating a budget and a plan for your expenses, creating a savings goal and how to track those savings goals. From there, we talked about actually building out your itinerary and having those backups handy, and whether you like your itinerary in a list format, a calendar view, or a day-to-day agenda, whatever you need, just make sure you organize it so you can see exactly what you're doing and when, so there's no confusion when you're on your trip. We talked about uploading whatever document you have, if they're digital documents, to the cloud system so you have easy access to it when you're traveling on your phone. And we talked about to-do lists. And while you're out traveling, consider the following: your souvenirs and your gifts. Write down the location of where you picked out that gift, the store name, the item, because guess what? When you come back with some really cool gifts, people are gonna ask you, oh, where did you get that from? Oh, how can I get that too? I'm going next week or next month. And you already have a list of the store name and the location handy and how much it costs, so you can share that with your friends and family. You put down the total cost of the item and the recipient that you select and choose from that customized tab. And guess what? When you go back to your spending plan, those souvenirs and gifts, guess what? That total is automatically in the actual spent column. So you can add as many people as you want it will automatically total for you. Another important thing as you're planning your trip to anywhere is, what are you going to do before you leave? There are things you need to accomplish before you actually go on your trip. Things like, have you arranged for the care of your pets, your lawn, or any plants that you have? Have you broken in any new shoes or charged your electronics up? Have you checked for expired travel documents? And have you checked the weather? Did you clean your house? Because guess what? It feels so good to come back to a clean room and a clean house after you've traveled. You know, did you empty the trash? Did you lock all your doors? Did you make arrangements to convert your currency, whether it's through an ATM when you get there, which is my preferred method, or some other currency exchange at your bank or through AAA? Did you notify any credit or debit cards of your travel plans, if you do even need to do that? There's a number of things you need to do before you leave, and you can set the priority here as well as the status along with any notes. When you get back, you can check your overall spending summary to see if your actual expenses are somewhat close to your planned expenses. You can see it visually here in a table as well as any of the charts. When you get back, you can share your recommendations with your friends and family because you have all the documents and all the research to tell them about how wonderful, or maybe not, some places are. You can give it your honest review and share your best and the most interesting and the funnest and the tastiest things. You don't have to use Excel to do this. You can do this through paper, through an app, through pen, whatever works for you. But if you're interested in my spreadsheet, go ahead and click the link in the description box below to get 10% off for making it this far in the video. But I'm interested to know, what is the next trip that you are planning and how are you planning for it? Let me know in the comments down below. I have a number of different trips that I'm planning at any given point in time, and you may have seen a little bit of a hint through this example. If you need resources on how to plan your monthly expenses so that you can save for a trip and your grocery expenses, I have a whole money management playlist that I've done. Click the link in the description box below. I also have a how much does Paris actually cost video if you want to check that out. I've personally used my trip planner to plan out a Mediterranean cruise vacation based out of Barcelona, Spain, which you all will see in my next few videos. So if you found this video helpful, please share it with a friend, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell for when my next video about the cruise will post. Thank you so much for watching. Happy planning, and I will catch you in the next video.